Hi, I'm Cavin Elizabeth, a wedding photographer and bridal boutique owner based in San Diego, and today I'm going to be showing you guys tons of inspiration for your Escort card display, also known as a seating chart. I've already mentioned that there are two names for the same thing, which is an Escort card display or a seating chart. It is the same thing. So this is basically a board or a display or a collection of cards or objects or whatever it might be to tell your guest where they're going to be sitting at your wedding. So it usually has some sort of object or card or whatever little cute thing to have a guest name on it and a table number. Sometimes there are assigned seats at tables and it might say that, or it simply just tells them what table to go to, and then maybe at the table itself there is another place card on the table to show the guest exactly where to sit. That's definitely another level. We're not going to be talking about that today. I have actually another video all about do you need a seating chart or not, and that is definitely a yes answer, so please definitely go watch that video. It explains why seating charts are necessary. I don't think that you have to have assigned seats at the actual table, but you should definitely have assigned tables for where the guest should sit rather than a free-for-all. There's a lot of good reasons for it, so please do watch that video. But today I'm going to be showing you guys a lot of different really cute ways that you can have a seating chart or an Escort card display. Some of these are going to be really simple and low cost, and some are going to be definitely a lot like higher end or medium end. So I'm going to be showing all kinds of examples of what my wedding couples have done. I can only show what my couples have done, but I'm going to show lots of different variations so that you guys can get an idea of what you might want to do for your wedding, whether it might be really simple and low cost, or it might be kind of medium, a little bit more in there. You might even DIY something like this and make it look really luxe, but you've done it all yourself and you put a ton of work into it. Or you might want to hire somebody to do it for you, and then you could go really all out and do something super high end. So whatever you choose, there's going to be a lot of different options for you. So let's go ahead and jump right in. My first few examples are going to be the most basic and simple options, which are also the most affordable options. And those are just very simple, like folded cards that you can just stand up on their own. So this is just a very simple option. These were printed, so they were printed by a computer. You can order these online or from a local printer, and you can just stand them up. So this couple just had them sitting on a table. They didn't have any floral arrangements or anything like that. So this is the most basic option that you can do. So an undecorated table with just some cards that are folded with printed ink on them for the names and table numbers. This next option was something that the couple had written. I don't know if they did it themselves or they had a friend do it or something. I don't think this was professional, but they had it on a table with a flower arrangement and then a little chalkboard sign, and they would have the couple or the couples or the guests or whatever take their little frame and then take it to their seats. So this was something where they had it in little frames, so that's kind of cute. I think they DIY'd this, so they themselves put them in the little frames and then on the tables. So just a different option, a little bit different than the printed. So you guys can see that you can do something like this simple option in many different ways. And then here is another option here. These were printed cards and then a little bit of a decoration on the table with an engagement photo that I took of the couple, and then just some loose flowers and greenery placed on the table. And then here we have another option. These were printed cards. I'm not zooming in close up because I don't feel like you guys really need to see the zoomed in options because they're just pretty basic, but some flowers on the table and then a little sign in the back that the couple can keep in their home afterwards that just has their new last name, established 2020. This was the last wedding that I shot. Like, this was literally about a month before the pandemic set in, so this was pre-pandemic wedding. And then just some greenery thrown throughout the card, so a little bit more decorated, really pretty option. So moving on here, we've got some cards with, I believe these were printed cards. So you've got printed cards, but instead of just being folded cards on a table, they are now tied onto an iron gate with some flowers and greenery on them. So same kind of concept, but on a different surface. So a little bit more creative, a little bit more intriguing. And this was outdoors, so they didn't rent a table to put it on. They rented this iron gate to put them on instead. So just a little bit bit of a different concept, something a little bit more unique to think about if you guys want something that's just a little bit different than the cards placed on the table. Now this next option is cards placed on a custom backdrop, and this was a really creative thing that my bride thought of, and this was a cute little thing that she did where it was seats by anniversary. So there were all these different symbols that represented different anniversaries, so like a little bell, copper, shells, all these different like mediums, these different little symbols, trinkets, little different pieces that represented different anniversary years, and so that's what she did to have them for their different tables. So I thought that was a really cool concept. So the guests would find their little trinket on their card, and then that was what would represent their table. So definitely a cute little idea. It was just a marriage milestone, so she and her family built this together, and I thought that that was really cool. Now this next one is a very high-end design that you guys could do, but you could definitely take some pieces away from this if you wanted to make this more affordable. So this was done by a calligrapher. So she painted this backdrop, did calligraphy on the top, and then the cards themselves are done in calligraphy with the table numbers. And then the florist attached flowers to this little, I don't know if it's iron or copper or whatever, but you guys can see this little metal stand, and then she attached the flower arrangements on there and then placed that on the backdrop. So if you wanted to do something like this, and you wanted to make this more affordable, you could DIY this if you wanted to, or if you wanted to hire somebody to do this for you because you're not a DIYer, then you could make the flower arrangements a little bit more sparse, or go with all greenery, or make them smaller, or if you wanted to make this more luxury, you could throw in more flowers. So something like this is really pretty. I just love the painterly backdrop. You could get a canvas and DIY this yourself, or you could put this, like hang this in your home afterwards. You could keep part of this, but I thought this was a really cool concept, something just really beautiful to combine flowers and the painterly backdrop, and the cards were really pretty themselves too. Now this next option is a really simple, very affordable option. So this couple had printed cards, probably from somewhere like Minted or something like that online, and they just had very simple cards that they clipped onto this wooden backdrop, and then a couple of engagement photos that I had taken from their time in San Francisco. So this was just a really simple option, and then these cards match their invitation suite as well. So this is just a really simple option. So these next couple of options I'm showing you guys are basically printed options, or options where you have a bunch of names on one card on a different surface. So this next option I'm going to show you guys is something that is just absolutely super like heavily pinned on my Pinterest. So this gets repinned all the time, and this is a hand calligraphy that has many guest names on one card, and then several cards on this beautiful structure, and then it's got lots of flowers on it. So this is really pretty. I'm not sure where this structure was gotten from. Probably the rental company had it, or the calligrapher had it, but it was just a really beautiful option that my couple had for their Santa Barbara wedding, and it's so pretty and very unique. Now this next option was really cool. This couple had printed names onto these acrylic octagons, and then they had them hanging by strings. So I thought this was really unique and something that was just super cool and original. So the strings are attached down below at the bottom of that wooden structure, so they're not rotating around. So if you didn't have them tied down at the bottom, they would be rotating around in circles, and they wouldn't sit nicely just because there wouldn't be any weight and gravity to hold them down. So I definitely recommend, if you're having floating structures, to have them tied down at the bottom. Otherwise, they're going to be rotating around, and they're not going to be all nice and uniform like this in the pictures. Now moving on, the next couple of options I'm going to be showing you guys are basically printed posters that you can get, where all of the guest names and table numbers are all on one long sheet of paper or poster, framed or unframed. So something like this is really pretty, and you can have all of the posters, like your menus, cocktail signs, or anything like that, all have the same sort of design. So right here, this couple has it on like white or ivory paper, and then some greenery vines on it, and then the rest of their paper decor like this all looked the same. So this next example I'm going to show you guys was taken of their seating chart, And then you can see that for their stationery, it had the same little pink flowers. So everything was cohesive for the wedding, like signs. Everything throughout their wedding looked the same. For this next wedding at the Del Mar Country Club, where I'm actually today, the day that this video is coming out, I'm doing a photo shoot, which you guys will see if you follow me on Instagram. My stories from today, you'll see a couple of sneak peeks of that. But you can see that their cocktail menu from the bar had the same greenery on it. So make sure that if you're doing signage and you're ordering it from the same place, that it all looks very cohesive. That makes sure that your wedding all looks the same throughout the day and everything is really, really nice in your final photo gallery. Now the next couple of options are going to show you guys things that you can write yourself or hire your calligrapher to do, or a friend with really beautiful handwriting, writing it on a different surface. So the key to doing something like this, if you're writing it on something that is transparent, is to place it somewhere that has a darker backdrop behind it so that it actually shows up. So right here, the couple has put it on these beautiful doors with glass, and then they've put it in front of a dark greenery backdrop. If you put this in front of white walls, you are not going to be able to read it as easily. So make sure that whatever goes behind your transparent thing that you've written your table numbers on is going to be a darker backdrop. That is absolutely key to making sure that it's going to show up in photographs. This next option is a very popular option, but extremely hard to photograph. It has to be photographed at an angle, otherwise the photographer is going to show up in the mirror, and that's never good. So this is writing something on a mirror. It's a really pretty option, but again, I have to photograph these things from an angle because I don't want to show up in the picture of these pretty mirrored Escort card displays. So this is a really tricky thing to photograph, but very pretty. The next option is to write on wood, or you could write on another surface. It could be a chalkboard or wood, whatever really goes with your wedding aesthetic. If you are having an elegant ballroom wedding, I would not choose a rustic wooden surface for your wedding. You need to choose something that's going to fit with your wedding aesthetic. At least that's what I think, because if you are having your wedding photo gallery and everything is really classic and clean and very elegant, and then you throw in something wooden and rustic, it's going to really stand out and be very jarring. Whereas if you had something like a very rustic farmhouse, industrial wedding, and then all of a sudden you threw in something that was really ballroomy, that's going to stand out. So I always recommend that you guys choose things that are going to be very cohesive with your wedding. Now, this next option is written on a blue painted backdrop, and this couple chose to have it look like a tournament because they had a vintage sports themed wedding. So they had basically like a tournament chart. So this is really cool, and it said, "Please be seated." So I thought that that was really clever, and they had a rental company do this for them. They did not DIY this, but you could DIY this if you were really DIY crazy, and I do believe that they got to keep this. It might be in their garage or something like that. And then they had greenery and flowers up at the top, but this was a really creative thing. So you guys can get super creative with your Escort displays. It doesn't have to be basic. And again, if you don't have the budget to hire people to do this for you, if you want to get really creative and you have a lot of time and you have the skills, you can always DIY something like this. Now, my next couple of options are going to be edible or drinkable. And this was a really cute creative display, and the words in the back say, "But first coffee." They were laser cut wood, and then there's a beautiful flower arrangement in the back, and these were little favor jars of coffee beans, and then the guest names were written on them, and they had little calligraphy, and I just thought that this was the cutest thing ever. I absolutely loved it. So it's a very creative way of incorporating favors into the Escort cards. That was really, really cute. The next couple of options are edible or drinkable and are definitely a little bit more expensive, but I think for a lot of these couples, they invested a lot more into this area of the wedding, whether they had a larger budget or they just simply invested in these pieces and then skimped on other areas of the wedding. But I think these are really lovely, and I wanted to include these for those of you who really want to invest a lot in your Escort card display. So for this example at the US Grant in San Diego, this couple chose to do little scrolls on the champagne glasses. So guests would grab their glass of champagne and their Escort card on the way into the reception, and I thought this was a really beautiful display by Details, the wedding planner company, and I just love that the way they did this, so guests would grab their drink on the way into the reception and their table number. Now this next couple actually had a very affordable wedding, and they chose to invest the most heavily into their Escort card display. This was the most important thing for them of their entire wedding as far as decor went, and they invested a lot in this. This was a priority for them, and they really wanted this to be a huge focal point. And so they had this beautiful palm leaf display with coconut drinks for their Escort cards, and so guests got to sip these during cocktail hour and then find their table number, and I just thought this was super fun for their tropical Mission Bay wedding in San Diego. Now this next option is done by Homerology and Backup Backdrops, who are a husband and wife team, and they actually did my own wedding, and this is a lot to unpack here, no pun intended. So I want you guys to really focus here for a minute, because this is a very complex Escort card display, and this was published on Martha Stewart Weddings and is one of my favorite Escort card displays. So it says "No time like the present" on this backdrop, and then there are little packages on the wall, and then down below are these cute little wrapped gifts that guests would find. So if we open up these next pictures, you'll see that there's little packages with guest names calligraphied on them, and inside are little sugar cookies with the table numbers, and so guests would open up their packages and find the cookie with their table number on them, which obviously they could then eat. And then another little sugar cookie was also inside that was just decorated really cute. So this was super, super fun, and I thought that this was the most creative thing ever. So guests not only could find their table number, but also eat a little cookie snack on the way into the reception, or save it a little later if they got hungry for something sweet. So super creative. Homerology is an awesome wedding planner. If you guys have a really high budget and you want a wedding planner who is super creative and just does the most unique, personalized weddings ever, I'll show you guys my Escort card display in about 2 slides. You'll really want to hire her. She's the best. This next wedding had a sign that was dreamt up by Josephina Events in San Diego, and it says "I pick you," and this was super pretty, where guests would go pick a flower, hence "I pick you," and it had a calligraphied watercolor card on it with the guest name and table number. Really, really beautiful. Guests would go pick a flower and put it on their table. So I thought that this was gorgeous. I hadn't really seen anything like this, so really pretty for a pink infused wedding. Now, last but certainly not least, my own wedding. Now this was made by Homerology and Backup Backdrops, who did that little Christmas themed wedding I just showed you guys. And for this, we chose to go with a smoothie theme, because my husband and I met online, and he was talking about how he liked to make smoothies. So I feigned an interest in smoothie making in order to have something to talk to him about, so hence Smooth Moves. And guest names were calligraphied on a mix of real and fake fruit, because some fruits are a little hard to write calligraphy on, and so it was just a mixture of grapefruit, lemons, oranges, and bananas on here, and then a couple of beautiful colorful blenders on a little shelf filled with different oranges, and just beautiful smilax greenery all around the top. Smilax is my favorite greenery. I heavily prefer it over eucalyptus. I think it's a lot more beautiful, holds a better shape. But anyways, this was just our beautiful Escort card display. Guests loved it. It was so fun, fruity, and festive, and I absolutely love that we did this. It was beautiful, and our wedding was published on Martha Stewart, so super fun. I loved it. It's my favorite Escort card display ever. All right, those are several seating charts and Escort card displays. I hope that you guys found something in here to inspire you for your own wedding. I know that the one that we had for our wedding was really beautiful, and it fit really nicely with our theme, and I absolutely loved it, and guests thought it was the coolest thing ever. They had so much fun finding their little fruit piece, and David and I, my husband and I, saved ours, so we still have our little fruit pieces in our home today, and it's just super special. So you can get really fun and creative with this, or you can go really basic and simple, and it can just be just another little thing at your wedding that you don't worry too much about. So anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I love making these little collections of inspiration for you. If you did enjoy this and you are not a subscriber, please be sure to subscribe. I put out videos every single week. And then if you are a subscriber, make sure that you go back and watch all of my videos that I've put out in the past. I have over 100 videos of content, so there's tons of stuff for you guys to watch to get inspired and get educated for your own wedding. See you guys next week. Bye!